these components here are what we're going to need to tie up my simple pop-up rig. Now I'll usually fish this with one of these, they're Northern Special Minis, they come in loads and loads of different colours, absolutely brilliant pop-ups. I've caught loads of fish with these. This is what this rig's for. So we're going to start off by taking a length of armour link, like so, and again just like the hair rig, we're going to tie a small overhand loop knot. So we're going to tighten that down with the rig tool, and then we're going to cut off the tag end of the hair. There we go. So yeah, small overhand loop knot in the end, that's going to act as our hair. So the next step is to take some of this. Now this is hook silicone. I'm just going to take a tiny piece of that. A couple of mil is all you need. And again, we're going to use the needle. Thread that onto the needle, like that. And we're going to use that to attach it to our braid, just like we would the anti-tangle sleeves and tungsten hook kickers. There we go. So we're going to slide that all the way down the braid till we get to the loop. So there's our piece of hook silicone and our loop. The next step is to take one of these. This is Chod Twister hook. Now the reason I use these hooks is because they've got an out-turned eye. So we're going to take our hook, and just like the hair rig, we're going to pass the braid through the back of the eye and pull it down almost to the hair. Now I change up my grip here, and basically the goal is to, a bit of a fiddly job, thread the silicone onto the hook like so, without getting the braid through the hook. Now a little tip that I like to do is inch it on little bit by little bit, and then as you're doing it, pull the braid through the silicone, and that just makes sure that your braid definitely isn't trapped on the hook point, so you're not going to tear your braid or anything, and then you know you can pull it back down to the correct point and the rig's going to be great. So yeah, so that's how I attach my hook silicone, like so. Now the positioning of the hook silicone is personal preference, but I like to have it just off the back of that bend, and then I'm just going to adjust my hair length as well, because again we're using these small little pop-ups, and I want the pop-up to be quite close to the back of the shank. So the pop-up's going to be presented about there like that, hook link coming down, so we've just positioned the silicone there, and that's how we have that set up. We can now finish it off like a normal hair rig and just whip down the shank a little bit and then pass it back through the back of the eye like so. And there we have it. That is the finished business end of our pop-up rig. So we've got a tiny little hair, piece of hook silicone just pinning that hair to the back of the shank, and then a knotless knot like you would a normal hair rig. To complete this rig, there's a few little tweaks that we're going to do. I've got two methods of doing this really, and it sort of depends on the type of rig that I'm trying to create. Sometimes I'll use shrink tube and sometimes I'll use a bit of hook silicone. If I just want a tiny little piece covering the eye, I'll use the hook silicone, and then I can have my pop-up sat as close to the deck as possible. So that's what the hook silicone's for. If I'm fishing it a bit more like a Withy Pool style rig, or I want it just presented slightly higher, but I want to be using the hair rig instead of one of the hinge stiff rigs, I'll be using this. This is the shrink tube. So today we're just going to use the hook silicone because I just want it sat really close to the bottom. So we're going to take a piece of maybe 8 or 10 mil, again really small, and we're going to attach it in exactly the same way with the needle. Again, this is quite fiddly. We're going to attach this piece of hook silicone onto the rig, and the idea with this is that we're going to pull it down and we're going to push it over the eye. Now you are going to have to get the right sized hook silicone for this, because if your diameter is too small you're going to struggle or not be able to get it over the eye. So yeah, we're just going to push that over the eye like so, and that's the first little finishing touch complete. So if you can see that there, we've just got a little piece of hook silicone over the eye, tiny little bit extending, and that's just going to open the gape up and make sure that the rig presents perfectly. Now this one is down to personal preference. You can either use a shot or a piece of putty or a combination of the two. I'm just going to use a shot for demonstration purposes. So let's take one of these, little number 1 shot. Again, I will use shots for most of the time for this, and then the putty to sort of tailor it, make sure that it sinks perfectly. And we're just going to put that right underneath the piece of hook silicone or shrink tube or whatever. So yeah, I'm just going to squeeze that shot onto there. And then there we go. That's basically the rig finished. All we need to do now is, like every rig, attach one of the anti-tango sleeves. So we're going to tie an overhand loop knot in the back of the rig. Now this rig is usually a more shorter rig that I'll use. I use this a lot for solid PVA bags and things like that. So yeah, there we go. So that rig is ready to attach to my quick change swivel. That is the finished small pop-up rig. So again, I'll fish this with one of the little Northern Specials. Put a hook bit on now to show you. My favourite colour at the minute has been the High Vis Pink, and washed out pink to be fair, but High Vis Pink, that's been doing the absolute damage. So we're just going to attach this like you would a normal hair rig bait. We're going to take a bait stop, pass the pop-up onto the needle, and then attach it to your hair. And then that's the finished rig.